Okay guys, here's a little mod that I had been thinking about for a while and figuring out how to do it with these things I had here from Hobby Lobby for a bomb drop for the 1700mm P-47 that I've been modding to a Razorback. Anyway, here's the plane's upside down here, and what I've done is I've removed the plastic piece right here that holds on the snap-on bomb. Okay, and you can see by here I've cut it out. I can actually put this back on if I ever wanted to go back to it. What I've done is, and there's actually two little extra pieces of foam that are sticking up right here that I've cut off and stuck back up in here. They're just kind of semi-reinforcements, just something for it to rest on. But what I'm planning on doing is taking a pair of HXT 9000s or any 9-gram servo. These are just standard. I just happen to have these laying around. My preference of choice would be the Hobby King 929s, metal geared, but I'm out of them right now and I'll have to order some more, but they're on back order. So I'm going to use these for now and maybe end up replacing these either. This ought to be a pretty simple mod and work pretty good and give you lots of different options. This is the bomb drop mechanism from Hobby Lobby. Okay, not the one from Hobby King. That's a little bigger and bulkier, which is a really nice system, but from Hobby Lobby. This one right here, and I have these two screws poked in here to help stabilize because there's another idea with these. But this thing, you build it, they're fairly cheap. Comes in this color orange. It doesn't come in any other color. I'm actually going to try and paint this silver, even though it's kind of a nylon plastic, so we'll see how it holds up. But it works on a push system. Sonictronic used to make a pair of these, and I haven't seen them around anymore. But anyway, this is similar to it. And then it comes with these bombs, and I've got dozens of these things laying around. And it comes with these clips that are molded onto this bomb. There's actually a spare one, so you can glue it onto an accessory and snap the accessory to it. These actually work pretty good. I've used these for years in a different manufacturer's make that doesn't make them anymore, and they're very positive. So I like them quite a bit, and I'm going to try and modify them for this P-47 as opposed to what I did with the P-51 with the Hobby King, and still try and stay with the stock pylon instead of the Hobby King's unit that goes on there that's a little bigger and bulkier, even though it's self-contained. Anyway, the process, and I'm doing this video now before I've actually done this, is I'm going to take this 9-gram servo, and I've already mounted these pylons in here, and it may require a reverse one for the other side, but I'm going to mount it inboard like that, and I'm going to countersink cut inside the wing just on the outside of the pylon, the exact square diameter or square circumference of that servo, and mount it down. You see, mount it down inside the wing here with just some standard booger glue. You'll see I've made a little cutout here. This, I've taken these and I've actually kind of grinded off the end of them. They're actually rounded at the ends, and I've ground them off the ends so that they fit inside this. They're actually a perfect fit down inside these things, and they come with these 4 ear mounting holes here so that when you put them on the bottom of an airplane you can screw it to a wood mount or something like that. But I'm going to use them for something different. I'm actually going to put a pair of, I'm using these for temporaries, nylon screws inside these for simulated bomb stabilizers to help the bomb from wiggling around inside the mount. Okay, because without it, oops, got it on backwards there. Without it, the bomb does have a little bit of play in it, and I'm trying to get it stable even though the play is not bad. And it will sit in here about like that. Now these are small bombs as opposed to the ones that come with the airplane, but the extra mount that comes with each one of these you can glue on that bomb and then mount that unit or any of the other units, anything else you want to put on here, and drop off of it. I'm actually going to use these right here, at least for the mounting unit, and put them on there. Now I had to make a square recess in there because this is spring loaded and has a bit of travel to it. And I'm going to rely on the servo arm, which over centers it right there instead of having a push rod that'll sink down level with it and will sit with it about like so. Let me see if you can see that. See if you can see that in the video. I can't really see my screen there, but anyway. And then this rod will push the arm will push this, so there'll be no linkage. It'll also be semi-external and almost hidden So if you ever have a problem with the servo, it burns out or something like that, it should be real easy just to dig out and pull back out. I'm going to run a channel right down the side of this as hidden as possible, and right here where my finger is running up and down is actually the channel for all the wiring for the aileron servos and stuff that's already on the plane, and I'm just going to lay that in the channel. I'm going to have an extension to run it up into the airplane and plug that in, and then plug it into my my auxiliary channel. And when I hit the trip switch, the servo will move, hit this, and release the bomb. Then you've got an operating bomb drop on your airplane on a spare channel if you've got one available. And all I had to do was take the stock pylon, shave the little extra piece of foam that was in here, and peel this off, and it comes off real easy. That's the way it is. That's the way it comes stock. Just like, well, let's see, I got it on backwards. Yeah. Just like that, pop this off. There's two pieces of foam right here. You cut those off and then cut a little indentation and a curve on the inside. It'll only show on this side of the pylon. From this side of the pylon, it's completely invisible. And then I'm going to replace this with this, and I'm going to glue it down, and then I'll have the 4 tabs that are on it, where I can put a little set of nylon 440 screws inside here that looks like the actual armaments ordnance stabilizers that are on there, and adjust them for different sizes of bombs, be it these little ones like this or the stock ones that come with it, that are right here. And I can take this and pull this off, and I'll open the bomb up here because I know I've got the spare pieces in here. These are snap apart bombs. It comes with these, and I'll replace that on here so that I can attach this to that. Or even the Hobby King bombs that you get that are kind of nice but they break will fit right in there, and then I can actually drop this ordnance from the plane like I do with my Mustang in the drop tanks. Even though I'm using the Hobby King one for it, I kind of want to stay with the stock pylons to better look on there. And this is a pretty easy mod. It's just a matter of a little bit of foam cutting in the wing to sink your servo, a little bit of modification to the pylon. I'll route this wire down the existing channel with the wire right here running right next to the pylon itself, because I want to be able to get to the servo fairly easy. I'll sink it down about halfway. Use my knife here. It'll actually be sunk into the airplane about that far, and this much of it will stick up above the airplane. Just enough so that arm is in line with the push thing, the travel arm here that actuates the bomb release mechanism. That way it's easy to replace. This can come off real easy if you have a problem with it, need to replace them, or this can be dug back out externally without, kind of like the wing servos or anything else, even though they're mounted on there. And you could actually sink wood blocks in here if you wanted to, some small plywood blocks, and screw this down in there to make it easy and accessible. And that's actually a good idea. I may end up doing that myself. Just put a couple plywood blocks so that I can sink screws, since this is actually going to be right next to the pylon. So it ought to be fairly hidden. See if I can get a zoom there. It ought to be fairly hidden. And I'll get the camera up here and move in a little closer. It ought to be fairly hidden from view. And I'll just put it right there. It'll be on the inside of the pylon. Paint the top of the servo to kind of match the airplane to disguise it. This sitting on top of it kind of gives you a better view. That arm will sit right there in that little square hole I've already cut. That originally wasn't there. I've already cut this hole that lines up with this guy right here on the bottom, so that when this is sitting in here, then it still kind of maintains the original shape of the pylon. Then add some screws, whatever your choice is. They're all different kind of ideas. I just happen to have a pair of these wood screws out handy, so I grabbed a pair of them, stuck them in the holes, and voila, instant bomb drop with the existing pylon and 2 9-gram servos. You can see that it sits up a little higher. I just have to sink it into the foam low enough so that the servo arm will be in the area right there. I'll zoom in a little closer. Will be right in this area to line up with that arm, and you can see here I've already made a arc on top of there, which is the swing of the arm, and it'll just simply, arm hits it, trips it, and off it goes. Paint it all up to match, and it ought to look really nice. And just have a little bit of a servo exposed out here, which would look a lot better in my opinion than the one from Hobby King that I've used before. You can still use a stock pylon. It'll also be a lot lighter. The one from Hobby King is a little heavier because it's a complete intact unit. You just stick to the wing. But it uses a 9-gram servo. This way you can use the existing pylon with a little bit of modification. Then if you don't like it, if you ever change your mind, you can simply remove this guy, and even the servo. Take you some rubber cement, glue that right back on there like that. Go right back to the existing system. This is, I'll zoom in some closer here. This is all I had to do. You can see the little lip here. I did have to shave off just a little bit of foam, about a 1/16 of an inch on the front and a 1/16 inch on the back that this rests in. There's still plenty of meat there on the foam to do it. I didn't change the surface here at all, except you see those 2 pieces of foam down inside there were originally part of this. I just took an X-Acto knife and cut them off. This guy off. I ground 2 small flat spots. This is normally rounded right here on both front and back. And I just took my Dremel tool, making sure not to go too deep because there's a spring inside there, and ground that off flat enough so that it would actually fit in between kind of the existing hole here. Lined up where my actuating arm was. I made a mark which is about halfway in the middle of the thing and maybe a little bit over. Set my servo to where it's going to be in the center spot. If it was sunk right there. And then with the long servo arm, these are HXT 900s, with the long servo arm or any other servo, I'll hollow this down a little bit further with my Dremel tool and a grinding drum so that it has swing room for the arm. Mount the servo, mount this on top of it, and as soon as I trip the servo, it'll push this open without having to have a connecting rod and drop your ordnance. And then the particularly nice thing about these guys are they have these ear tabs on them, which older set that I used to have didn't. Like I said, these are designed for mounting to wood or something, but that allows you to put like what I've got right there, a screw in there, and he'll actually sit in there kind of cockeyed crooked, so that when it's sitting on the ordnance, get my camera to stabilize here, which it doesn't want to do. Put the other one on here real quick for you guys to see. These bombs actually snap in half just like the Hobby King bombs, except these don't break when you drop them. These actually will just bust open. You fill them full of baby powder or colored plumber's chalk or something like that, and it gives a simulated explosion. And then I use it like that to help stabilize the bomb on the front and the back. Granted, I'll be using different size screws than these wood screws, these sheetrock screws that I happen to have laying around. But now there won't be any wiggle in it, and it actually gives it a little more of a scale appearance. So anyway, I'll post this up on YouTube, and then I'll do another one later on when I'm actually finished with this. But I've been kind of tossing this idea around for the past couple weeks since I got this airplane. Wasn't exactly particularly sure on how I wanted to do it, and then I had a brainchild. Thought and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do to keep it nice and simple and easy with as least amount of cutting into the airplane and the original pylon as possible, and still be able to return it back to its original if I want to at a later date, and just go with the permanent snap-ons and fly around with that. This way I've still got the skinny pylon. Hope you guys like it, and I'll do another one later when it's actually all finished, done, and working.